this is Dragon Videos. I hope y'all are doing well. So, since we're still having a long wait for season 2, I might as well just go back and review some of the episodes in Hazbin Hotel and give my own personal thoughts about season 1. But episode by episode, of course. So, for this one, I'm going to go for the very first episode, Overture. And be warned, there can't be some spoilers in this, and I'm going to do a recap and do full on take on every bits and pieces of it as possible. Without further ado, let's begin. So the episode begins with a very nicely set up prologue introducing the beginning of time, the creation of heaven and hell, as well as Lucifer, Lilith, and Adam, the three main characters that started all this chaos in the first place. It finally cuts off to where Charlie is looking into her key, or Kiki, that is a cat. Then, of course, Vaggie meets her. One by one, each of the characters are introduced. They both have a look at the commercial, and of course, Vaggie was not really into it, and Charlie, bless her heart, tried to be a delicate critic about of how it's set up. And of course, Alistair, being Alistair, was being cheesy at the fact that he wanted to play around with this stuff for a little bit. This didn't exactly amuse Vaggie at all and made her more determined to make a brand new commercial. In the meantime, Charlie gets a phone call from her father, Lucifer, notifying her that it is time to have a meeting and to take his place in meeting the exorcist angels. Surprised by this, Vaggie was a bit confused, but it breaks into Happy Day in Hell, and Charlie eagerly goes over to the embassy, where she meets Adam, but yeah, our favorite angel gave her more than what she bargained for. Oh, isn't he just so delightful? And in the meantime, Vaggie tries her best to set up the commercials whenever possible. However, things were backfiring, so she resorted to having Alistair's help in setting up the commercials, and it turned to be a good success for them, even though we didn't see it at that point at the tail end of the episode. And of course, poor Charlie, as she was dealing with the song version of Hell is Forever from Adam, she was practically dunked on in terms that her hotel plans were not going to work even before she had the chance to explain or how she was going to make it possible. My lord. And as a result, well, there's going to be it's going to be every 6 months that the exterminations are going to happen, much to Charlie's dismay and frustration. As if it was bad enough from being laughed at in hell, she's also being laughed at in heaven. And the story ends with a headless angel body laying on the ground of hell, and that it creates a sense of mystery to what Adam and Lute were trying to hide. Overall, this episode was good. I was very entertained through beginning to the end, as well as I liked of how the use of a prologue gave a better understanding of how everything is going on and what Charlie's trying to accomplish. I also like the fact that with the voice actors, they've tried their best to try to match some of the stuff from the pilot. With David Keith's voice, I'm okay with it, and it definitely becomes a bit rewarding later on in episodes later, especially when it comes to the singing. And also I love of how with the introduction with our villains, Lute and Adam, it was pretty obvious that we were going to have a hard time along with Charlie, Lou definitely came across as someone I would want to keep a close eye on at all times. Adam definitely was, in some ways, in a show don't tell, of that he looks down on Charlie and would just say whatever he wants because he can. This definitely says a lot in terms of him being remnant of, oh, say, Gaston. And then, of course, we're dealing with the fact that the extermination is moving into a different date now, where it's every 6 months instead of a year. Oh boy, are the stakes high for Charlie on this one. And I do appreciate of how you still feel bad for her, especially thanks to Erica Hangingson's voice acting. You feel bad for Charlie because of what she's trying to accomplish, and she's doing it in reasonable means and being diplomatic compared to the other two. As for the commercial bit, it seemed simple and a bit quick, a little bit of a cartoony style that you would see in other shows as well. I also like of how with Vaggie's character, she's a little bit in control of her anger, not flat out going into rage mode, but it does help to understand that she just means well. While with Angel Dust's little joke of his about his job, there was still a subtle hint that there was a red flag that he was not okay. It probably will be going over some people's heads when you first watch it, but if you were to do it upon rewatch like I have, you'll definitely see that this was a red flag that secretly he's not okay. I mean, even though he said his body was made for exploiting, I feel like this is, again, a huge red flag because he's pretending that this job is okay and that he is just chill with it, which in reality is not. I also appreciated the ending, especially when Adam smashes the light, because it emphasizes the creepy grin and almost as if it's emphasizing on the dark nature that this guy has and will play later on in the future. Definitely makes me wonder what he'll do in possibly season 2 if he comes back. Happy Day in Hell was a decently written song. It definitely came across as something along the lines of Charlie's character as a whole being optimistic and somewhat naive, but even with the visuals, it definitely helps give an idea that despite of how chaotic and insane that this place was, she somehow sees the beauty in her subjects and in her people, and the place that she calls home despite the state it is. It definitely means that Charlie is not super judgmental on the surface. She wants to give people a chance to be heard and being cared for. So it definitely highlights more of her character. The only downside of her song is just mostly this.
Their minds. And touch my parts. No, thank you. I'm just gonna fulfill my destiny.
Yeah, I felt like that was the one part we could have lived without, even if it was meant to be funny. But that's just me. With the song Hell's Forever, it definitely highlights a lot of Adam's character as being very proud, snarky, and a bit sadistic, considering the fact that he views extermination as entertainment, even though he's the first man, and he should be upset the fact that there are so many sinners in hell and not a lot of people in heaven. But no, he is just happy and get his kicks out of terrorizing all the sinners and making them die all over again. Yeah, Again, this is an ideal character song for him, to say the least. And it definitely gets stuck in your head in more ways than one. So, the most valued character in this episode, I believe, would be Charlie. Not only does she give us a sense of innocence when she is introducing us to this world, as jarring as it may be, she also has the capability where we feel bad for her and the fact that she's trying to be reasonable with her goals. It's just she's surrounded by people who don't want to listen. She just has to learn to be more firm with it. And of course, she definitely has very admirable goals, and we
That
find
means you.
ourselves cheering her on even if the odds seem
That explains
slim
so
at
much.
I
best.
know, I fucking rock.
Oh, again, overall, this has been a good episode, and I hope there will be more to come in season two. So, what do you guys think of this episode? Do a like and subscribe. This is Dragon Veo signing off.